Hello. Welcome and good morning, good afternoon if you're watching this on a different format or later on. And welcome to a webinar about AutoCAD, right? So what we're going to be doing today, or what I'm going to be doing today, is basically showing you how to master your connected workflows with the AutoCAD software. All right, my name is Nick Wilkin. I'm a technology consultant for AutoCAD. All right, look it up on the web if you got time, and look up what courses and what services we supply. All right, so let's get into this. Okay, so AutoCAD, mastering the connected workflows with AutoCAD, right? What does that actually entail? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of look at some of the real questions people ask, first and foremost, before I get into some demos with the AutoCAD software. Because the question always comes up, what is ACC? And if you're thinking about connected workflows or collaboration with the AutoCAD software, yeah, you got to first ask yourself the question, does my software package actually have some of these other software packages or suites? Does it have a software that enables me to do this outside of AutoCAD? All right, when I do some demos, I will only be using AutoCAD. I'll show you some other areas there, but that'll be slightly different. I just want to address the biggest question, which is always, what is ACC? All right, and I'll show you what ACC is regarding AutoCAD. All right, with reference to AutoCAD. So that obviously has to be answered. So the power of AutoCAD, I'm pretty sure everybody who uses AutoCAD will be aware of the power of AutoCAD. Users can draft, annotate, and design 2D geometry, 3D models with all kinds of objects, right? We can bring automation to things like drawing comparisons, quantification, adding blocks. All right, you can create schedules, you can automate those schedules with things like attributes, and everything can be customized with add-on apps and custom APIs using things like the CUI, things like that. You can really customize AutoCAD. And I'd go so far as to say it's probably one of the most customizable softwares that I've come across as far as a CAD operator. Now, obviously, there might be something else out there that's out of my frame of reference. But yeah, AutoCAD, very customizable. So what are the challenges? A few challenges obviously still exist. It is quite a package that you could say is quite long in the tooth, right? The old saying, it's quite an old package. It's been around for donkey's years. A big one is that files are often exported out and shared, right? Because of the old format of the program and habits, just old habits. This can be worrisome because that exported information is immediately outdated, right? It's not live. So you're saving it outside of the program, so it's not a live connection. This, as we know to be true in construction, can lead to folks working off of obsolete information and perhaps, building things that are not released yet, not signed off, basically incorrectly. Okay, that can cause, scheduling problems, that can cause things to go over budget, obviously. Additionally, we have a hard time understanding who receives which files, right? So when you do this sort of process, and it's a very manual, labor-intensive process, you've got to have a little bit of self-discipline, and you've got to make sure that those files get to the right people. All right, all the stakeholders in that project need to get it at the right time with the right revision. So yeah, it's definitely has a danger of miscommunication with regard to that aspect. All right, so today we're going to be looking at what is collaborative design tools that are available to AutoCAD users. So what design tools are available? Now, I'm going to basically be covering everything just as a PowerPoint presentation, because I can't go into every single one of these. It'll just take far too long. We'll be here all day. But there are built-in tools and sharing options. That's what I'm going to demo in a little while. However, there's also BIM 360. There's Takeoff, there's Build, there's Tandem, Docs, Insight, specialized tool sets, and interoperability. I'll show you some interoperability at the end of the webinar. All right, so Autodesk Construction Cloud, what is it? I've always It's always been kind of out of my frame of reference, but obviously looking into it, it was always very confusing because I would be told, nah, use BIM collaborate, nah, use takeoff, nah, use build, nah, use doc. So which one do we use? So before we get into AutoCAD tools and the demos, we need to cover what other softwares and tech exists and is being developed that AutoCAD can plug into. All right, so the Autodesk Construction Cloud is your end-to-end solution for all and any design and construction projects. Right, Autodesk have built the most powerful and complete portfolio, as far as I can tell, of products for this, right? It is a centralized platform for AEC. It can work in the manufacturing realm, but this is not an example for the manufacturing side, guys. The interoperability, I'll give you guys a demo for the guys that are in the manufacturing side of things. This is on obviously the AEC side, right? But this allows real-time collaboration and workflows across the team. It streamlines communication, document sharing, and data management. Obviously, this is going to improve performance, right? Obviously, it allows for better coordination. Now, I have been told that obviously Autodesk Docs is the way to go for AutoCAD, all right? But as you can see, AutoCAD and all these other software programs offered by Autodesk, obviously, it is available using these other options. Now, obviously, you would want to use whichever software suite is best for you. Each company, each person is going to have different needs and wants, all right? And so, yeah, you can use it. I've also added on the bottom left here, just an extra Bluebeam there, right? Now, obviously, that's not Autodesk, but Bluebeam can also tie into AutoCAD. Now, it's a little bit less automated, all right? It won't use things like the Construction Cloud. It doesn't use your Autodesk web applications. What it does is it forces you to use a manual process, but it kind of feels like XREFs, if I'm honest, right? A Bluebeam, it still connects, you can still do things, and it still kind of automates, but it very much feels like an XREF, if anybody was wondering. All right, so we're going to be looking at AutoCAD, and Autodesk Build is the obvious solution that what people want you to go with, right? But I would say Docs is also very much there. But I'll cover roughly what each one of these does. The Autodesk Build, it improves communication and collaboration. Files can be accessed in a wide variety of formats from the office or the site. Permissions can be set for editing or viewing. All right. Through the cloud viewer, stakeholders can directly annotate plans with changes. Design reviewers can be tagged and notified instantly, enabling real-time discourse. All right, so this has got some powerful for it, and it's real-time. That's the important part. It's a live connection, so your revisions are live. All right, all of this leads to more clarity and confidence for your project team. All uploaded files, regardless of their format, are traceable. This allows users to view the history of each file and create an automatic project audit trail. All right, so revision-wise, it's going to be quite a good software package to leverage. With this seamless integration between AutoCAD and Autodesk Build, you're going to see far less uncertainty in your projects and a lot of time being saved on the back and forth, broken communication that might happen with the manual process. Obviously, there's more transparency because you can see what has happened, who did it, when it happened, and it's throughout the entire project team. We can also create a single source of truth, and that's across the board with everything what we're going for in this webinar. That single source of truth is what every company should be striving for. Obviously, that makes a very, very powerful hit with a project, all right? It definitely makes things happen a lot smoother and more profitable and more efficient. All right, we can share design files in their native file format, all right? So receiving and having that design software, all right? So you can share it without people needing the design software, all right? So even if they don't have the design software, you can share it to them with views and so on. New versions of your file automatically replace outdated ones, all right? That's kind of goes without saying if it's a live file. Users can also access files from any of their devices. So with many users out there still being remote, this is quite key to the success of your project, and it helps with that collaboration. Users can also compare previous versions of the design, so you don't lose those previous revisions. And obviously that yields less errors and back and forth on those projects. All right, it's also important to note that Autodesk Build does align with ISO 19650. All right, so that naming convention in that ISO standard. All right, that's just a bit of a side note there, but obviously important. All right, if you want to know more about Autodesk Docs, I would recommend that you go and have a look here. You can just search up sync markups from Autodesk Docs, AutoCAD 2025. All right, there's a great AutoCAD YouTube there that you guys can go have a look up. All right, so yeah, have a look at that. Really powerful, and I think that's a pretty neat one. It's a short video, as you can see. It's 1 minute 22, so nothing too crazy. All right, you've also got Autodesk Construction Cloud. So what is ACC, and what other programs does it tie into? All right, so obviously Autodesk Construction Cloud drastically reduces the need for any of these solutions. All right, so moving forward, if you can consolidate all your software for your project workflow and your tech stack into one solution, this would obviously be the answer. Okay, each one of these solutions are effective, obviously in their own regard, definitely, but in combination with the total stack, it can be very, very costly, obviously. ACC affords ability to reevaluate processes and see if there are alternative solutions, right? So obviously you can see if there's solutions, and maybe ACC can actually sort those solutions out for you, but that's going to help to reduce that technology stack with the help of reducing that pain point of buying extra and too much software, right? But that's obviously up to the company and your needs. All right, so what is Desktop Connector? So gone over some of the other aspects of connected workflows with AutoCAD. Then there's obviously the question, what is the Desktop Connector? All right, so what is this? All right, Desktop Connector acts as a bridge between your local computer and the cloud, allowing you to access, manage, and work with files stored in Autodesk Cloud services. So what this is it's basically just a offline access, but it does connect to the cloud. So it's going to sync, all right? And what it's going to do is it's going to save it in a location that's on the cloud, so you can automatically sync to the cloud, all right? So this is obviously something in collaboration that's going to make a big difference, all right? It definitely helps out. And this is how all those software packages are talking to each other. So you might have seen it need some updates and uploads and all that nonsense with Autodesk. This is what it does, all right, if you were wondering, like I was. All right, so there it is in bold. Desktop Connector is an application that runs on your desktop that serves as a bridge between the local files and the data in the cloud. Straightforward. All right. Once installed, you can read and write files to those virtual folders on their local drives. And for those changes, it will be automatically synced to the cloud. All right. Now, that depends on your PC and your servers and your hardware, etc., etc. All right. So just keep that in mind. All right. Sometimes I do find myself waiting for it to sync, and yeah, sometimes it's slower, sometimes it's faster. So yeah, it all depends on what you're doing at the time and how it's actually related to what's happening on the server and where it's saved. Okay, with the latest release of version 16, customers get more information as things are happening in the background. All right, so because of this information sharing of Desktop Connector, you will have more awareness of the state of your data. All right, so it's getting better as time goes on. All right, so this is something that's actually getting better and better, I find, as the time moves on. All right, so Desktop Connector, ACC, it connects to Microsoft, and it's obviously Desktop Connector is connected to your PC. All right. It's a very familiar interface, so it looks just like Explorer. You're not going to have to change anything. You don't have to learn any software. So there's no disruption in your workflow. You just carry on as normal and it will work the same. All right, so you can lock files regardless of the application you're using, and it's an automatic read notification. All right, so this is all on the back end of Desktop Connector, and you'll notice that it's even got a built-in conflict resolution. All right, so the conflict resolution in the event of a designer intentionally or unintentionally works offline or disconnects from the cloud. What it's going to do there is it's going to make sure that everything updates and saves automatically, if you will. All right, so this obviously brings the question that the idea that one small change can have a much greater impact on the complex system. So obviously, if you could make a single, simple, small change to reduce errors and rework, reduce your tech stack, and at the same time, you would increase your productivity and collaboration. All right, so quite a good note there. All right, so that's basically the software packages that are available for AutoCAD, right? That connect into AutoCAD and that you can use as a software stack, right? Depending on your needs, obviously, guys. But I had to just address that because if I didn't address that, that would kind of be the elephant in the room, if I could put it that way. Why has that not been addressed? Because, you know, why wouldn't you just use ACC, for example? But going forward from now, I'm actually just going to do some demos, all right, using AutoCAD itself. Now, obviously, there are some aspects of this that will be using your desktop connector without me even knowing it, without you knowing it. It's going to be on the back end, right? So it's obviously going to be there. All right, so some of the first things I want to show you are hyperlinks, right? So hyperlinks, XREFs, those type of things, web and mobile are going to be the focus. And then I will obviously do an example of interoperability. All right, so just giving you a quick rundown of what we're going to be having a look at there. Before we get into that, there's obviously this tab that makes a lot of sense for this webinar, Collaborate. And you'll notice here you've got Share View or Share Drawings, right? You've got the Autodesk Docs. Now, I'm not going to do this one, guys, but obviously you would have Autodesk Docs installed. I'm going to keep this in terms of AutoCAD itself. So Share Drawing, if I left-click on that, you'll notice it brings up this dialog. And what that's going to do is enable me to share a link to this drawing. Now, this will send me an email, all right? So obviously, I'm logged into my account. So while I'm logged into my account, this feature within AutoCAD is going to create a link. Now, there's the link right there. I could just copy the link, right? So view only, I can make it with the view so you can see that anyone with a link can view the drawing, but can't modify the drawing. Or you can edit and save a copy. So anyone with a link can edit and save a new version of the drawing. All right, so there we go. You can also copy the link. All right, and then obviously just email that to suppliers, vendors, colleagues, whatever the case may be, your client. All right, so pretty straightforward. And you've obviously got the option to preview how that web page is going to look, right? So there's the link, all right? And this is the web page that's opening up. And it's opening up in your AutoCAD viewer, right? So it's looking at it, right? Shared drawing view with you, all right? And you got to sign in, obviously, to have a look at this, all right? So I'm going to sign in. It should sign me in automatically. If it doesn't, my password will be hidden, so that's all good. Let me just go over here. Yeah, I think it's that one next. If this doesn't sign me in, I will just create the link. Sorry, let me just do this off the screen. This is quite typical of what happens. All these extra links that you have to find, right? Right, hang on a second. It doesn't normally come up. This should not have come up. So I might just skip this because now I've got to find this authenticator. And normally it just logs me in automatically. All right, guys, so I'm just going to leave that one out. All right. Bit of a hiccup there. Guys, you have to log into your Autodesk account. It should have been logged in. it should be logged in there automatically. But yeah, I'll come back to that, or just have a look at that. Log into your account, and you will see that it will open on the web. All right, it's pretty straightforward. All right, the same thing with shared views. All right, you can share a view. Notice what happened here. Sign into your Autodesk account. Now, obviously, that's going to give me the same issue, but you can see I have shared a view previously. All right, so you can create a shared view, new shared view. I can do that. And notice here, it says there, name PNID sample. So this was a hose reel. This is the same sort of project. Share the current view only, share the model view and all layout views. All right, share object priority. All right, so I'm going to share. Background processing of the shared view is ready to start. Right, the notification will display when processing is complete and ready for online viewing. Notice it's actually taking the view of my current AutoCAD. All right, so it's going to be this page, and it will pop up and tell me that that view is ready to be seen. Now, again, I might need to log into my Autodesk account. So yeah, I'm not going to waste your time with that. Going forward, we've also got traces palette markup import. I'm going to leave these to a little bit later. I'm going to first create some drawings, and I'm going to actually show you guys how to get hyperlinks going. And that's going to lead me into XREFs and into web and mobile. And then we'll look at the drawing compare and so on. So now this one's opening up with my Autodesk viewer. So yeah, I have signed in here. So I don't think you need to sign in for this, which I was expecting for the previous one. But yeah, it's the same. It's going to be the same view, right? So the previous one will have the same view as this. There it is. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. You'll notice that you can't do a lot to this, right? It's a shared view. So I can measure, all right, I can do that sort of thing. So I can measure distances and so on. And I can look at angles and so on, all right? You can also look at the layers. So whatever layers I've created, I can actually turn them on and turn them off, etc., etc. But it's a shared view. It's a very neat way. One thing to note about this is I always find this quite unsettling. Is my zoom is backwards, right? But that's all right. It's backwards to AutoCAD. It's kind of the inventor type of zoom, all right? So just be aware of that. But yeah, shared view, and let me close that one up. All right, very easy way to share a link to people and have them have a look at it, right? All right, so let's get into hyperlinks. Hyperlinks, why, you might say, why is that? How is that a collaborative tool? But connected workflows, right? So I found this a very powerful method to use. Obviously, I've got a couple preset up here. If I hover over there, there's a hose reel that's connected. If I hold down control like it tells me to there and I left click on it, it's going to open up that drawing. So there's the drawing that opens up. It's a detail of the hose reel. I kept this quite simple, but it's a much quicker way to work. I use the PNID because that makes a lot of sense. All right, you have things like off-page tags and so on. But you can also link it to each one of your items if you would, right? So the ball valve, I'm quite literally going to have a web page. So you can have a hyperlink to a drawing or a hyperlink to a web page. Now, obviously, I've just done a Google search here for each one of these because I don't want to have any sort of companies coming back and saying, why did you put us on your YouTube video, for example? But other ones I've actually linked as DWGs, all right? And it can be a 3D DWG, it can be a 2D DWG. As long as it's a DWG, it's going to open the drawing. All right, how do you link those hyperlinks, right? Quite simply, you will go to Insert. You'll see under the Data panel, there's the hyperlink button. I'll click on hyperlink. I'm going to choose this hose reel symbol over here and press enter. All right, and I'll go and create this as a file. Now, obviously, if it was a web page, I would just right click here and paste the web page information. All right, this can only go up to 250 characters. So be aware of that. It can only go up to 250 characters. You can't go, it might be 255 if memory serves me well. But yeah, so if this address is too long, just note that you're going to have some trouble with that. All right, but it still is able to go to a web page. I'm going to select File, and here's my drawing compare folder. I'm going to select this hose reel, and I'm going to connect that one to this hose reel. Now you'll see the hyperlink is there, and I can open up that drawing as well. You'll see it's the same as this hose reel over here, just a different file folder location. Let me close that one. All right, so you can also do things like just random areas of text, or all of these have got the same hyperlink attached to them. So I've selected multiple objects and selected the same hyperlink. all right, to open up a plan drawing. And so it's a very quick way to jump from one DWG to another. All right, very quick way, very easy way to work. You don't have to think, where is the drawing? Where did I save it? As long as your project folders and save folders in the back end are connected or neat, and you've set that up previously, it will find those drawings. It can be on a server location, so you can have your projects shared throughout the team. All right, very, very neat way to work. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in an XREF. Obviously, XREF are something that most advanced users are quite aware of and quite familiar with. All right, and if you haven't used XREFs, I'm going to type in XREF. There is the panel there. I've got it. Yeah, I'm going to lock this open. All right, so that it stays open, and you'll see there's no XREFs currently attached to this drawing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in this hose reel, and I'm going to place it roughly in this area over here as an XREF. I'm going to go attach DWG. And when I attach the DWG, I'm going to go and find that XREF, right? So I'll save the folder in my shortcuts, connected workflows. All right, and there is my hose reel. Right, I'm going to open this one up. Now, this dialog comes up. Anybody that's run through my course will know, or I've instructed on how to use AutoCAD. They'll know all the ins and outs of this. You've got overlays and attachments. Look at the right up there. So we would obviously, I'm going to pick an overlay because it ignores any drawings to which it is attached. It is attached is then as an XREF to another drawing, right? So if it's attached as an XREF to another drawing, it will ignore that XREF. All right. So this kind of stops the DWG inception from happening. All right. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to make sure that it is scaled at 1:1. Notice you can do X, Y, and Z. So you don't have to scale this uniformly. You can scale this with, expanding the X-axis or contracting the Y-axis, if you will. So yeah, it doesn't have to be scaled uniformly. The insertion point, I'm going to select the insertion point. All right, so I want to select it. Anything I toggle is going to create the option for me to click on the screen. If I don't toggle any of these, it will automatically place it. The relative no path and full path, this is important as far as a connected workflow is concerned. The no path should be in the same folder. A relative path could be, for example, just one folder out or two folders out, but that path doesn't change, all right? The relative position of that path does not change. The full path, I would say, would be for examples like where you might have a project saved on a server. All right, I would then put in the full path because you might go to site or whatever, and you have to log into that server. So you need to tell AutoCAD the full path of where that file is found. 9 times out of 10, you can use the relative path, and it works quite all right. But just be aware that those options are available. All right, I'm not going to rotate this, obviously. And then if you were bringing in a block, that would be the units that block would be denoted as, millimeters, and the scale factor for that block. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to attach to my cursor. Now, I've set up this so that I can just click on where the pipe leading to this hose reel will be found, right? So there, this is the hose reel. All right, it's just a symbol, and I can go into this, and I can actually look at my layers. And within the context of this drawing, you'll notice there's a whole bunch of layers that exist. But the XREF has got these grayed out, and you will even see that it's got hose reel in front of it. So that hose reel in front of it tells me that this is an externally referenced drawing. And so, for example, in this instance, I don't want to see those dimensions, right? I don't need to see these dimensions in this example because this is my GA or my plan view for the offices and buildings, and I just want to position this so that it looks right. I don't need those dimensions. So I'm going to turn off that layer. And when I turn off that layer, I'm not going to turn all of them off. I only want that one turned off, right? So I'm going to turn that one off. You'll notice now that I can turn it off, and I also don't want the text, right? So let's remove the text. And there is my symbol, basically my XREF of that hose reel detail. So by turning that off, what happens there is AutoCAD then has an option that says this is now an override. So this is highlighted. You can see the symbol here changes. It's telling me that these layers have been overridden and something's changed from the original drawing. All right, I can't change this drawing here. I would need to actually open. So notice my tab at the top, external reference. I can right click over here, open it up. I can click on this object, open it up. All right, here you can see open XREF, and I can go over here and open reference. As soon as I do that, it's going to open up that specific drawing. Now there I can edit it and it will automatically update. All right, so I'm going to just change some text because I want to make some other changes in some different ways here. So hose, fire hose, right? I know it might be incorrect. It should say fire hose real, that's fine. And I'm good with that, right? As soon as I save this, that XREF is a live connection to my office and warehouse drawing. It's going to tell me that that has changed. Now I can either click over here, or I can go to my external references and update this or refresh it, right? So reload it. Notice refreshing it won't reload it. I need to actually click on reload all references. All right, and there it updates. Now, obviously that layer is not shown, but I know for as a fact that this is now going to be changed. So you'll notice there what I just did there when I went into my layers. If you guys don't know that, you've got the, as soon as you add an XREF, this XREF filter comes up. All right, so group settings or group filters will come up. This is actually a group filter. So notice up here, you've got filters and group filters. This is a group filter and it filters the XREF so you can localize the layers that are on that XREF. All right, there we can see it's changed. It only says fire hose, so it's updated automatically. I'm going to keep that one off. All right, now what I could also do, seeing as I've opened that drawing, I can also do things like this. Let's say I needed to go to site and I don't want to take my laptop into a dirty site. You know, this is a construction site where there's a lot of dirt flying around. I want to look after my company's assets and equipment. And so I want to get some site dimensions from this and I want to change something. All right, I want to look it up and I want to take some site dimensions. I found this to be quite a powerful tool, is the AutoCAD mobile and web. All right, so you'll notice up here on the top by the quick access toolbar, open from web and mobile or save to web and mobile. So now you first need to save this to web and mobile, and obviously you need to be logged in to your account. All right, so I'm just going to bring up that that PowerPoint again and just show you guys. I've got some slides here that kind of explains this. First and foremost, you need to install AutoCAD web and mobile. All right, so it will ask you to install this function. All right, so it needs a plugin. It will create, it enables you to open, create, edit, and share drawings online. So you can use a tablet or your cell phone. For this example, I'm actually going to show you what I did with my cell phone. All right. The access is included with your license and subscription of AutoCAD. And there's no skill gap. It is still AutoCAD. I will say it takes a little bit of getting used to. You know, if you've got fat fingers like myself, you'll need to get used to your screen, or maybe your mobile is a little bit small. But yeah, if you got a nice notepad or something like that, it works very well. It doesn't support 3D, all right? And the reason I've put that note up there is because yes, there are some limitations. Now, I haven't explored all the features of the mobile app or the web app, but I'm pretty certain there's going to be some limitations to it. All right, and it's also supported by Windows, Mac, and 64-bit Chrome, Firefox, and Edge. All right, so those are the formats that support it. All right, these are the two icons I just showed you on the quick access toolbar. All right, and then just note something here. This is something to note. For myself, it has saved it to that location. So the reason I've put this here is to show you that when you actually save this file, it's not saving it in any sort of folder that you designate. It automatically saves it to the web and mobile data folder within your AutoCAD app. All right, so notice app data, local, Autodesk, web and mobile data. So in other words, if you wanted to manually go to those files, like you might do with AutoCAD, it's not as simple as putting it in a project folder. All right, it has a specific folder that it will save to. All right, so this one doesn't directly use the desktop connector. All right, they work with it to access and manage files stored in Autodesk Cloud Services like Autodesk Docs. All right, so when mobile, you don't need technically any sort of the Docs or ACC software to actually get this to work. All right, this is quite literally in AutoCAD. All right, so very neat tool, very easy to use. So just some background about how this works. Obviously, you would install the app, you would open the app, that's how it's going to look, and then you would use the app as you would AutoCAD. All right, so obviously you're going to sign in and you would find that DWG and open it. Now, what it will do is it will automatically open over here, as you will see, the folder with those files. All right, and that's that folder location that I just showed you. All right, you use the AutoCAD app on the web or your mobile as you would normally, and then you save those changes. So what I did for this example, let's jump back to AutoCAD, is I then went to AutoCAD, I saved this file. So I'm going to open up this file and I'm going to save this, save to web and mobile, right? So that's the first step. You need to save the drawing that you want to have on your web and mobile app and save it there. Obviously, you could start a new drawing, but yeah, I'm going to save this app. Now you can see I've done this a few times just to test it out, check it out, see what I can do with it. And so I can save this. Now you can see there, you've got the option to save it as a DWG. It's still a DWG. However, it doesn't really give you the address, right? So I'm going to save that. Do you want to replace it? Yes. Okay. So once that one is saved, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go, okay, let's have a look at my drawing utilities and properties. So the only reason I'm doing this is just to verify that that is where it is saved, right? I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go into my Explorer, right? There's the DWG in my current project, and I'm going to paste that, right? I'm going to go to that file, and down at the bottom here, web and mobile data. There it is there. Now notice what happens. Every single DWG has a folder created and linked to it, right? So yeah, you'll notice that you can't really see anything in these folders. And there's my hose reel. So there it is. All right, you'll notice the date and the time. It is 1 minute ago. So just showing you guys that it actually saved there. And yes, you could technically still access this DWG through your Explorer. All right, but obviously I saved that over. Now I'm just going to give you guys a quick demo of how that works. All right, so over here, let's just turn the sound off. And I accessed on my cell phone, AutoCAD mobile, went into the drawing. I say, there's my hose reel. Right now, obviously this is pre-recorded, so that's -01. It's not the same one, obviously. All right, it opens the file. All right, just gives you some information. You'll notice at the bottom, you've got your tools, and it quite literally works the same as AutoCAD. So there I'm zooming into the file. All right, I obviously could have zoom extents. It's available on the top right there. All right, and we'll continue on this video over here. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a mirror tool. So I'm going to mirror that 50 nominal ball pipe, because I want to change that inlet to go downward, right? So let's say that inlet needs to be changed. I'm on site. This is neat. I can actually create a mirror tool here, and just showing you one tool function, but most of the functions are available. You need to move your cursor with your finger. All right, once it asks you for that, and you need to tap with your finger once you've snapped. So your snaps are in place, and there I've now changed that file. All right, and there it is changed. All right, now that's the web and mobile, and it's a pretty neat tool because obviously that now saves that to your web and mobile folder. So if you go over here and you click on open, those changes should be apparent, right? Now, I can't remember if I had the changes. There they are, right? There we go. So now, obviously, this you could actually link to that extract, all right? I did try it. It does work. It is a bit of a rigmarole because, rigmarole, I'll say it's a long process to get it right because you need to actually go and find that folder. And that's why I showed you that. All right. But obviously, if you know AutoCAD, I'm going to keep it simple. You'll see here that this is mirrored, and I've actually got a whiteout over here. All right. So this whiteout hasn't been changed. I'm just going to mirror that one if I can. I'm not sure if it'll allow me to. Let's see if it does. Yeah, it did. So that's all good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this change, right? Rather than I'm going to copy with base points, go over there, go to my actual drawing. You could do now a drawing compare. So before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that this drawing is now different to that drawing. So I'm going to keep this drawing open. I know which drawing this is, but now that's why I say it's a bit difficult to find this. But what I can do is I can go save as. All right. And now it's in that strange location, right? I don't want it to be there. I want it now. I'm going to save it to my AutoCAD connected location. So there's my hose reel. This is now hose reel -1. I'm going to save that one there. All right. And I'm going to close this drawing. No, that's all good. And now what I can do is I can either just replace this XREF with that XREF, but I can also open this drawing, go into model space. Let's use model space rather. And I'm going to go to my collaborate tool and I'm going to draw and compare because maybe I don't remember what I did. Sometimes I'll forget my head if it's not attached. So yeah, and I can open that up. The following objects in your drawing are not supported for comparison. Notice it's a raster image, all right? But it still shows me, all right? So it seems to give me that warning every time I use the mobile app, but it is a DWG. So it tells me what has changed, but this is actually a raster image. So because it's a raster image, I'm pretty certain that the import objects from the current compared drawing, right? And over here, you've got export snapshot. I'm not going to export a snapshot. I want to import those objects, right? So I'm going to try and do that. Let's see. You can see I can highlight these objects, right? I'm not going to change that one back. That's fine. And I'm going to press enter. So there, it should have imported. I'm going to close that. And as you can see, it's now imported those objects. And I'm just going to delete those objects. All right, I'm going to keep this pretty unneat. So obviously, I might neaten that up a bit more. But for this example, it serves its purpose. Now I'm going to save that. All right, so that's using the DWG compare tool. And when I go back to my drawing in Office, you'll notice now that this doesn't actually update. So it doesn't tell me, hey, hang on a second, why didn't this update? So I found that that's the case with the mobile, right? So let's open this up. It should still open that same drawing. And you can see it's actually opened a different drawing. All right, so I had the wrong drawing open. That's fine. That's perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open this one, go to my XREFs, and I'm going to replace this, right? So reload, I'm going to change the path type, new path. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, and I should have actually checked which one that was because I thought it was this one, but it's obviously not. So let's have a look here. I might have changed one of these other drawings. Compare, there it is there. All right, I'm not sure. So I've just brought in the wrong drawing, guys. I'm not sure where that drawing is. Let me delete that one. All right, a little bit of an issue here. This is that. No, it's fine. This is the one I want to bring in. And I'm not sure where this one is saved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save as. So this is now overwritten from the original drawing. I'm going to bring this in and I'm just going to overwrite that one. Right. I think that would have been easier to start off with. I thought I had saved it. All right. But I was obviously editing the wrong one. I was obviously editing this drawing, not this drawing. Right. Yeah, should have been. Save that. So you're getting a couple of options. Yeah, if you do it the right way, it's going to work quite neatly. All right. Yeah, let's go over here. And obviously I've deleted that. So within my context of I'm going to reload that. Let's attach it again. Okay, there we go. Now it's got the correct one. And I'm just going to click OK. All right, now that would have updated anyway. So there we have it. You'll see that it actually hasn't brought in the wipeout, but that's all right. We can see the differences there. So that is how you kind of work around all these connected workflows. And I thought it was a pretty neat example of how to bring in all these different connected workflows. A very simple example, but obviously it can be quite more complex. And the more you use this, the more you get used to it and understand the file locations and so on. Very neat tools, very good way to work. All right, so combined with hyperlinks, combined with XREFs, and then obviously, if you had to go and get site measurements, you could use your mobile app. Right, the next example I want to show you, I'm actually going to start a new drawing. So interoperability. All right, so that's all the built-in collaboration tools that we have over here. The next one I want to show you is interoperability. So let's, I'm going to close all these drawings, get a blank page. I don't need to save anything. All right, so I'm closing all my drawings. That's fine. And I'm going to actually open a blank template. Right, so first and foremost, I'm not going to open Inventor. Now, I've got a drawing that I created on Inventor, and I might just show you that if it doesn't open as neatly as it should. But what I'm going to do is, before I do that, I'm going to create a 3D object, and I'll show you why. Because, and this is why I opened a blank drawing. It's a clean drawing. There's no layers there. I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to keep this pretty simple, right? I'll just show you guys in the manual form how I'm doing this, all right, instead of just going too quick. I found when I didn't know how to do this, a lot of people would do this very quickly. So I used my workspace, went to 3D modeling. This is a rectangle on the XY axis, right? I'm going to select that rectangle, which is a polyline, press enter, and I'm going to extrude this up. So you might say, well, Nick, why are you doing that? Well, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to make sure that I have a 3D object that I'm going to bring into my layout. So there's my 3D object. If I go over here and I make this conceptual, you can see it's a 3D object, right? Let's keep it as wireframe. I'm going to go to my layout. And again, the layout's not important. I'm going to delete that. That is not important. What's important is I want to show you how on any layout, you can bring in 3D objects. All right, so let's go back there. I don't know why I changed back to model space. Let's go back out. Now I'm going to use the view base command, view base, right? View base, that one there. And view base will automatically ask me, do I want to bring this in as a file or do I want to bring it in from model space? All right, now for model space, the reason I'm doing this is I can bring this in, right? I'm going to exit that and I'm going to bring in an isometric so you guys can see what's happening. And I'm going to press enter. So view base brings in the view of the top view here and the isometric here with some hidden lines. Now, the reason I did this first is because as soon as you look at your layers now, you've got this MD hidden and you've got this MD visible. So with interoperability and bringing in objects from Inventor or other programs like Revit or so on, you might find that this is that the layers are not quite right. So this is what it's going to place it on. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that this is changed beforehand. So just as an example, I'm going to do that. Let's do this one here as blue, right? And we'll change the thickness here because this seems too thick. 0.3, and we'll make this one actually cyan just to have a light blue so we can see the hidden detail, and we'll make this a lot thinner, right? I just don't want those lines to be too thick. Okay, that's a hidden line, so it's a dashed line, that's fine. I'm quite happy with that, and as you can see, it's been changed. All right, so that's just to show you that you can pre-set up these settings before you actually bring in a view base from Inventor, for example. All right, so I'm going to delete those, and I'm going to save this drawing, and I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to put it over here, and this is now going to be 02, right, as an example. 002 doesn't need to be anything special, right? Now I'm going to go to view base again. And this time I'm going to pick file. So this time what this will do is it wants me to look for, as you can see there, IAMs, IPTs, and IPNs. So all Inventor based, right? And I'm going to select this shoe rack, all right? Show rack, should say shoe rack, but yeah, same difference, right? I'm going to open that up, place the view, exit, and I'm going to do the same thing again. And there it is, right? Enter. And you'll see that those colors have been brought in. But notice this view is not showing hidden details. So I'm going to edit this view, right? And I'm going to say I want hidden lines. And I want to show visible lines with hidden lines in the background, just so you guys can see that those layers are now in effect. All right, now the one thing about this, and I will have to get my inventor going for this. All right, the one thing about this is that when you do changes, the change, and this is kind of a just the tips and tricks for you. You would think that this is live, and it should be live. So this should update automatically because that view is directly linked from the view in Inventor, right? But what you might not know about this is that this view is linked to the IPT. So any of the Inventor users out there, they will know that that means it's a project, right? So it's linked to the project. So if you're going to use this tool with Inventor, right? So I'm going to open up that shoe rack, and that shoe rack, I'm going to do some changes to it. I'm going to keep it pretty simple, so don't not worried about the details. All right, I'm just going to change the top plate. It's a very basic assembly. It's nothing too advanced, and you would think that that update would automatically update to AutoCAD. All right, but there's a way to do that. All right, so I'm going to cancel out of that. I'm just going to wait for this to load. There it is. I'm going to access this file here. I'm going to change the size of this board at the top, right? Very easily. By 50, for example, half the size. It's totally off, but that's what I want to see. I want to see that change. Now, even though I save it, it should update to AutoCAD, right? So this is something that, you would imagine actually updates. Now, you even got a button over here that says update view. So I can select all these views and I can go update view. Then it even asks me, so it doesn't update the views. It says select the view. Select the views. And what does AutoCAD say? The view is up to date. All right, so here's the trick to that. If anybody's found this to be an issue, it will update. But here's what you need to do. All right, you need to actually close this drawing and reopen it. And included in that, you might actually have to edit it and update the view manually, right? So you might have to tell it where that IPT is found. So let's close this view. All right, save changes. Yes, I want to save the changes because I want those two views there. And so there's my drawing. I'm going to go open and I'm going to go to 002 and I'm going to open up that file, right? Open that up. And you'll see that it reloads it. And now because it's reloaded it, it's updated. So notice that you have to close it and reopen it. But just letting you guys know, if you haven't experienced it, you might have that disconnect and it will bring it up either over here, drawing views, or it might bring it up and tell you to reattach the IPT, in other words, the project file. So the project file would be found in that Inventor project, which is under my PJ Inventors, right? There's a shoe rack, and this IPT would be found over here, right? So this IPT is actually linked to that IPT. So I would actually have to select this IPT. So there we go, Inventor project. That file drives it. So you'd have to tell AutoCAD to drive it from that position. All right, so just be aware of that. That warning can come up and you would then have to attach it. All right, so that is interoperability with Inventor, and it works pretty neatly. All right, I'm going to basically stop right there, and I'm going to allow for any Q&As to go on. If there are any questions, please let me know. Obviously, you can put it in the chat, and you can ask questions away. If there are no questions, then you can always watch the YouTube and put the questions in the YouTube video. And hopefully